What's going on, everybody? This is Al from PlaybookGamer.com, and today we're going to look at some of the new info that came out for College Football 25 this week. They came out with a new deep dive video on the sights and sounds of the game, the presentation side of things. We all know EA does at least a pretty good job of that. That's one of the easier, I wouldn't say easy, but it's one of the simpler things to get into and focus on as opposed to trying to make gameplay excellent. So we know they're going to get great presentation here. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to look at some rankings that they released as well. Toughest places to play, the top offenses and defense, and trust me, there's a lot to talk about there. But I want to start off with the video first. I'm sure everybody has seen this several times over, but I'm going to look at this again, and I may stop it a few times throughout and comment on it.
Hey everyone, Kirk Herbstreit here, and welcome to the...
I want to stop it right here. So here we are. This is Cal Stadium. I think it's Memorial Stadium is what they call it. So if you've ever been to a Cal game, the stadium is right up against a mountain. So they at least put the effort into having the landscape exactly where it needs to be, just in terms of like the trees and right up against the mountain. But also pay attention to the crowd throughout the entire video. When you got like a student section, that'll be very noticeable, or you'll notice the band in their section. You'll also notice the visiting section. I think they will get as accurate as they possibly can with this game. I'll be shocked that they really mess up on a handful of things, because with EA, they at least know if they can pretty up a game, that could mask a lot of some other potential issues, and hopefully there won't be many in this game. But again, just focus on the stands and whatnot and how detailed they got with it.
EA Sports College Football 25 Sights and Sounds Deep Dive. We designed College Football 25 with a philosophy that every team is somebody's favorite.
We'll stop right here. So I wanted to mention again the student sections and whatnot. They apparently have put a lot of effort into getting the right chants in, the right hand signals. I mean, all of that good stuff. So if your favorite team has any type of tradition whatsoever, I think they'll do a pretty good job of getting it pretty correct, especially in terms of, again, like if you got certain chants with hand signals and whatnot.
Create a truly authentic and immersive game day experience. We gave a little love to every single school.
So we got a little gameplay. I'm always up for this. I care more about this more than the looks of everything, but at least we got a little bit of it in this video. And it's good to see brand new teams in this game. I mean, Sam Houston and the Kennesaw State and whatnot. But again, just kind of focus on the stands and see like how they're not completely full. And they're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the video, about dynamic audience and stands and whatnot. But anyway, just a really good job here, just making everything look pretty authentic.
In the game.
Who gives a hoot? The Owls do. It's a touchdown.
Let's take a closer look. It was a massive...
Alternate uniforms, obvious. We've had these in these games forever, but if you're a Bulldog fan, of course, you're going to get those black alternate uniforms.
Undertaking to research and recreate unique team traditions. And in EA Sports College Football 25,
we got to talk about Michigan, the reigning national champions. They done a good job here of actually, and they may have done this in NCAA 14. I haven't played in forever, but they at least got them coming out of the right spot of the stadium. Their main entrance is from midfield, actually, which is like completely very rare compared to most teams, but it's cool that at least got that accurate.
You'll get to experience all kinds of iconic pageantry, from stadium environments to
turnover. Okay, so every team's got their own way of celebrating turnovers. Carolina's got the belt. When we had Butch Jones in Tennessee, we had the turnover trash can for a day, and that did not go well at all. But again, just another little minor detail that they've just put a little effort in, which is pretty cool.
Celebrations to mascots. Finer details like crowd theming.
So we got to talk about the crowd theming, like he said. So you notice we got striped stands, which is amazing, you know, being a Tennessee fan. And here we are at Cal again. And again, we're right up against the mountain. But it's really cool that we got the stripes and everything. So at Tennessee, we have the checkerboards and whatnot. I wonder if they're going to allow us to pick which home games we want to do that for. I'm going to guess yes. It would be cool. If not, it's not that big of a deal. But it would be really cool if we get to pick, hey, this is our biggest home game. I want a checkerboard kneeling that day. So let's just see if that happens or not. But either way, it's just really cool that they have that in here to begin with.
Touchdown traditions and rivalry content truly helps set the game day atmosphere. Players on some teams touch a sign for good luck on their way to the field. Cheerleaders and marching band.
Of course, I have to stop right here, Neyland Stadium. Notice it's not checkerboard. It's just a normal audience and whatnot. And again, I think they've done a good job. We even added these Vols signs back a couple of years ago on the south end zone and whatnot. But they got the T, the power T. We get to run through it finally. And a really cool POV of this right behind Smokey leading the team. I mean, just good job, EA.
And create human tunnels in classic formations during team intros. And pyrotechnics light up stadiums. We've got mascots on push-up boards, riding motorcycles, planting flags, and animals charging down the field. Ultimately, we know that each team comes in a different shape and size in an EA Sports College Football 25.
So I want to go back to that trophy, actually.
Different shape and size in an EA Sports.
So this trophy right here, I think that's really cool. Like I wonder if they will like update the little emblems and whatnot. I'm guessing not, and that's not a big deal if they don't. But it's cool that they are emphasizing the trophies, and we actually get to see this, I guess, at the end of games. Now, me, again, being a Tennessee fan, we don't have any trophies with other rivals and such, but there are plenty of them out there. But it's cool to see the Commander-in-Chief trophy in the game, and they will show that if you win it, which I think is just really neat.
Sports College Football 25, you can experience them all. Aside from the action on the field, we all know what truly makes college football so electrifying: the fans. In order to recreate the intensity and authenticity of a college football crowd, we partnered with ESPN to capture crowd reaction audio from some of their biggest broadcast games.
So this is really neat what they're going to show right here. They are showing how the crowd just really gets involved with this and how the opposing team may get false starts and such. Now, I'm curious. Now, you notice it shows right here, I'm pretty sure the team, the guy who's playing this game is Michigan. It makes me wonder, surely the game will let us snap the ball. Like I'm the quarterback, I'm fixing to snap, but surely the game's not going to stop to where I'm not allowed to snap it because the crowd's so noisy. That'd be interesting if that was the case, but I kind of hope that's not the case. But either way, this is really cool. So it makes you wonder, is the game going to literally at times not allow me to snap it because of the crowd? Again, that's neat. But I'm not fazed by it. I'm not the actual quarterback out there, if that makes sense, if you get what I'm saying. Either way, it's a cool feature.
For some matchups, you'll be greeted by a colorful
Go Vols
crowd theme painting the seats, whether it's a whiteout, a blackout, or a stripe the stadium.
Really cool. I'm not a BYU fan, but I've always heard this is like the best. They always have the best backdrop of any stadium out there, especially, they've got the mountain in the background, but a really cool stripe setup they got going on.
Theme. It's all in the game. Unique fan sections will be leading cheers with painted chests, team-specific hand signs.
So this is really cool. This is pretty accurate in terms of they're showing the U signal with the stands, or with I think this is the student section they really focused on. Now, the only inaccurate thing is they got a packed house in their stadium, and they normally don't pack out their places. I kid Miami fans. Don't hate me for it. But either way, pretty cool that they have put in the effort to at least get the hand signals in there.
Dynamic wardrobe.
Salute the troops.
That change based on the...
No, okay, I got to stop here. This is the first time I think we've seen snow in any of their videos, and this is, I think, Navy, right? I think this is Navy Stadium. Either way, pretty cool looking. I wonder if the snow is going to change throughout the game, like it gets more heavy snow, or it's going to stay consistent. I'm keeping my expectations low on that, but either way, I think this is pretty cool how they done it. And if you notice, the crowd, I'm seeing a lot of white beanies and such, and hoodies and things of that nature. They are dressed up respectively to the weather. So I think, good job for actually thinking that far ahead on things.
Conditions and custom chants.
That's a wrap. Kirk and I did some joint recordings. It is an incredibly detailed process.
He wasn't kidding. We spent hundreds of hours laying down commentary for every game scenario you can imagine.
It's a pick two to win the game in.
So yeah, so he just mentioned right there, pick 2. So somebody got an interception, took it back to the house off a 2-point conversion, which I think is just pretty cool. So they've, kind of prepared themselves for every type of scenario you could think of. But it's just cool they went to that nuance. Now, I will say this while I'm here. They have 2 broadcast groups. They got, Kirk and Fowler with the main group, but then they got Reese Davis and David Pollock and somebody else as well, so which is pretty cool. So you're going to see a couple of different commentary guys depending on which game you're playing that day, I guess.
Overtime.
The broadcast team also includes Jesse Palmer, David Pollock, and Reese Davis.
There you go.
To make it game day every day this season, pre-order the MVP bundle today.
All right, that was pretty cool. Again, they've made it look as pretty as possible and as accurate as possible in terms of traditions of the teams you root for and such. And I mean, I knew they would go to the nth degree on this because this is what attracts most people from the onset. We're humans, we are visual people, and to see that much accuracy in a lot of things in terms of like the entrances, like for Penn State and such, the runouts, here's Alabama. Then they got, is this Army? I'm just assuming that is Army there. Then, of course, they show some of the motion capture stuff and kind of how they go about doing it. As usual, their main website has all of this. And here's Smokey and Smokey. That's pretty cool. I get to see that in the game. Then you got, good job here. I'm not an Oklahoma fan, but notice they actually got 2 different horses. They got different eyes, different types of hair. So again, there's Smokey right there. This may be my thumbnail for this video, but just a good job. Again, they made everything look shiny and pretty, and hopefully, it's just my wish that the gameplay matches a lot of this. We'll see if that happens, but either way, really excited about the look of it. We'll never get tired of, just watching it at least. But just a lot of good stuff here. They make crowd noise. They talk about the fight songs. All I think as many of them as they can get in there license-wise will be in the game. And none of this is technically new if you think about it. They've had fight songs in the games forever. They've had certain other atmospheric things in here for these games for the longest time. But you got crowd themes. So this is really cool. We talked about this a little bit earlier with some of the different stripe combinations for some of these teams. Dynamic attendance. So this is nothing new as well. If your team does well, you get more butts in the seats in the next couple of games. If you don't do well, it gets worse. We've seen that in my Syracuse Dynasty recently. That was in 06, which is a 20-year-old game. So none of this is technically new, but at least they put it back in there. But to talk about crowd section layouts and student sections, and they're going to do all the chants, and there's the Florida Chomp, and then they got hand signals. I talked about those earlier. There's a lot of specific ones. I don't think Horns Down is in here. No offense to Texas fans, but I don't think it's going to be in here, so I assume you guys wouldn't mind that it's not. Then you got, again, just normal chants, just as you would expect. Tradition is all over this thing. Then they talked about all the commentary guys that are going to be in there. Celebrations. I think, again, this is pretty cool when you celebrate a rivalry trophy. You get to hoist it up and whatnot instead of just seeing it after the fact like we've had in the past games. So this is one thing I'm really excited about. They didn't talk too much about this, but the pip and game flow, we get new information that changes at the play call screen. So you come down here, they got stat comparisons for that game, the season, career. You got impact players. Now, I don't know how impactful these are. I'm assuming it's not as impactful as what's like in 06 when it first came out. But you got rankings on, for teams and individual stuff, wear and tear if you're going to have that toggled on or off, and just a lot of cool things. But they got over 400 panels. This right here is what I'm talking about. This is going to change pretty much every play call screen. So hopefully you could get in the habit of knowing what play you're going to call, but just kind of look here just for like a second or two before you actually go, call your play or pick it. But again, it's all pretty. It's all great, so we all expected this, and at least we'll get to enjoy the looks of it at least. Now let's talk about rankings. This has had a lot of controversy come up because of it. Everybody's a critic. Everybody has an opinion on why their team is not ranked in the top 10, 15, 25, what have you. We want to start off with the toughest places to play. And it says right here, we laid out significant impact of home field advantage can have on the outcome of games. And they based it a lot on Not all home field advantages are created equal. The development team worked to compile the list of the top 25 toughest places to play, factoring in historical stats such as home winning percentage, home game attendance, active home winning streaks, team prestige, and more. But as soon as you go into this, and actually before we look at the list, I thought this was interesting. So I took this a couple different ways. It says rankings are subject to change in future updates. So that tells me that every month or so, they may switch that ranking around initially. So whenever you start a new dynasty, those rankings will change depending on what their opinion is of that. But I wonder, does this change during dynasty mode? I do not see that listed anywhere on here. Unless I have missed it, I did not see it. So in the older games, your top 25 would change depending on how well those teams play or how worse they played. I'm assuming that it will change. It will be dynamic as your dynasty goes on. But on top of that, they are going to change these throughout the year. I'm guessing just every few months, they may just swap them around depending on how things go in real life. But here are the top 25 toughest places to play. Again, it's up to you where you think this is great or not. I don't know. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But of course, me being biased, I got Tennessee 13th, Neyland Stadium. That seems kind of low. But again, how do you factor that in? You know, they got Penn State. Let me just see here. Alabama, LSU, Wisconsin. Some people think that's a little high. Again, it's up to you. None of this really, again, matters in the long run of things. But let's go over to, we would have looked at the sights and sounds. I want to talk about the offense and defensive power rankings. Now, normally I don't get too upset over stuff like this, but there was some of it I thought was interesting that I just want to point out. First of all, these are your top offenses. Notice, out of the gate, there are only 4 teams that are just a 90 and above offense. That actually is pretty interesting. At least we don't have a bunch of 99 overall types or A+ offenses like we've had in older games. That, to me, I guess that's a good thing. But you notice just the rankings in general. I think Colorado got a whole lot of love. Some people think, well, they should. They had a great offense last year. You go back and look at some stats. They were like 90th and 80th in a lot of different offensive stats. So I'm pretty sure it's purely predicated on your roster and nothing more. And I don't know. I thought it was just kind of goofy to see that. Of course, my Vols didn't not even make the list of top 25. I thought that was kind of odd. Even with Joe Milton last year, we had a pretty good offense. But again, it's up to you where you think this is bad or good or not. But you notice there's a lot of similar rankings. You got a lot of 89s, a bunch of 87s, and we'll definitely see that on the defensive or the overall side of things. But there's your top 25. It is what it is. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Again, this is just your initial start of your dynasty. So let's talk about the defenses. So we got about 6 or so, or 7, I guess, 90 and above defenses in the game. Ohio State's right up there. Of course, they have bought the best defense they can possibly get. Technically, the best roster they could possibly do. It's a do or die for them. But Georgia's right there. Oregon, Clemson. I did notice Iowa's like 13th. They're right there at 88. But notice there's like a bunch of 88s and 86s and whatnot. My Vols did not make the top 25 again. We got the best defensive end in the country, but we didn't get there. But I kind of halfway understand that, though. Our defense was just kind of average last year. But the team power rankings, I thought this was the most interesting. So when you get down here, we have just a handful of teams in the 90s. So do you think Clemson is a top 5 team? I don't know. I guess they brought several people back. I'm not quite sure on that. But Tennessee, I will say this. This is where I got a little upset over. Tennessee did not even make the top 25 overall. And we've been consensus preseason top 15 all summer, all spring. But somehow we just did not make this list. I don't know. It's just whatever. Colorado did somehow. Arizona did just based off last year, but they lost their coach and a bunch of other players and such. I don't know. But either way, notice again what I'm saying here. So there are a lot of 87 overalls, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tennessee may be the 18th 87 overall team. So again, none of this really matters, but it's cool that they throw it out there. It gives us something to talk about. But it's there. Everybody's got an opinion on it for sure. But what's really cool is I couldn't find it here. Yes, here it is. Next week, we have a Dynasty deep dive. We will definitely be covering that in spades. I'll probably stop. I'll probably get a lot of still images. I'm going to just kind of break down every little thing I noticed that really caught my eye. So I'm really looking forward to, again, next week, we're going to cover Dynasty. and we'll see how detailed that's going to be and some of the new features that will be implemented there. All right, should be really cool. Looking forward to the game, and I'll talk to you guys later.